nature to that construct,
Exactly.
which doesn't exist. So, and the you in the past and the you now and the you in the future are also awash because they don't exist either.
That's exactly right.
To say that the karmic imprints that you have made in this life are going to carry on to another being in a new body, that's, that doesn't even make sense to a degree. So it's almost, inarticulable, or it's hard to describe with the language that we have, what happens.
I have no hope of repeating that.
I just hope maybe I spoke loud enough.
But it might have been loud enough to come across. That was very good, Susan. And thank you. And that is true. But, we have this tendency, we want to keep exerting self-nature to things. That's the way our minds work. And as a matter of fact, we can't talk without that happening. And that's why you have in all of the wisdom traditions of the world, not just Buddhism, but all of the wisdom traditions of the world, you have different levels at which things are taught and understood. And so until somebody can recognize that because of the universality of emptiness, this or the ultimate truth of anatta, of not self, that these notions of reincarnation that we want to point to have to be false. Until you get to the point of realizing that, you may need that. You may need that way. You may need to think in those terms to help you along. But we're trying to get all the way beyond that. We're trying to let go of these intellectual crutches and attachments that are no longer holding us back more than they're holding us up. I thought I'd read one more little thing from the sutras here for you before we finish for the evening. There was once a biku in this community of bikus who had this thought: where do these four great entities cease without remainder? That is, the earth element, water element, fire element, and air element. Then he entered upon concentration such that when his mind was concentrated, the path to the gods was manifest. And we'll skip a big part of this. He goes to all these different realms of the gods, and he asks them all this question: where do the four elements cease? All the way up to the great Brahma. And he asks the great Brahma, and the great Brahma evades the question. As a matter of fact, I'll read to you the great Brahma's answer. He says, Bhikkhu, I am Brahma, the great Brahma, the transcendent being, untranscended, sure-sighted, wielder of mastery, Lord Maker and Creator, Most High, Providence, Master of those that are and ever can be. The Bhikkhu asked over and over, he says, friend, I did not ask that. What I asked was, where do the four great entities cease without remainder? So finally, the great Brahma pulls him aside and says, listen, I couldn't tell you in front of all the other gods because they think I know everything, but I don't know the answer to this. So, the Bhikkhu then vanished from that world. He came and asked the Buddha the same question. Actually, it says they came and asked me the same question, because this is the Buddha speaking in the first person. I told him, Bhikkhu, it happens that seafaring traders set sail with a shore-finding bird, and when their ship is out of sight of land, they release the bird. It goes to the east, south, west, and north, and up and down, and in between. If it sees land to one side, it goes towards it. But if it sees none, it comes back to the ship. So too, Bhikkhu, wherever you sought, even in the Brahma world, you found no answer to your question, and so you came back to me. But the question should not be put like that. It should be put like this. Tell them, Where do water, earth, fire, and air no footing find? Where likewise the long and short, big and small and big, fair and foul, where is it that name and form do without remainder cease? And the answer thereto is this: the consciousness that makes no showing, nor has to do with finiteness, claiming no being apart from all. There it is that water, earth, fire, and air no footing find. And likewise, the long and short, small and big, fair and foul, there it is that name and form do without remainder cease. So the problem with the question is that it was couched in the sense that materiality, in terms of the four elements, actually existed. And so the question was, where do these cease? Where is the end of what is? And the correct way of stating it was, where do water, earth, fire, and air no footing find? And what this means is that this material reality is mind created, the four elements. So it's not where do they cease to exist, because they don't exist. It's rather, where does the appearance of these no longer find any footing? And so on with the other things that he added to it, the long and short and so forth. And the answer to this is the consciousness that makes no showing nor has to do with finiteness, claiming no being apart from all. And the ultimate truth that we are after is that all of those things that we wrestle with as in terms of existence and non-existence are projections of the mind solely, and exist only in the mind. In the course of our understanding the nature of reality more and more deeply, we come to realize that this idea of reality, of existence, has no meaning except in terms of consciousness. Do you see that? It's a little bit, it's not that hard to grasp, but maybe just a little bit. You know, this idea that when I'm not conscious of something, that something still exists. If we are really honest, if we are really strict if we are really scientific in our investigation, we realize that the mind infers existence outside of consciousness. But the only thing that you can really speak of in terms of reality, is something real or not, is that of which there is consciousness. And now the individual consciousness we have, the separate consciousness that we have, that arises in the six senses and dualistically takes an object, this is not the real consciousness. The real consciousness is that consciousness which is the same in all of these senses, that consciousness which is the same in all sentient beings, that consciousness which is only one, and that has no separate being, but is the foundation for anything that our individual consciousness or our mind might identify as existing or as reality. So the ultimate reality is the purely undifferentiated consciousness.